My name is Rachel Carter. I'm 35 years old. I work in HR. I live in Minneapolis with my husband, Matt, and our two kids, Noah, who's 8, and Lily. Lily died this past January. You know how some people remember the exact moment their world ended for me? It wasn't when we got the cancer diagnosis. It wasn't even when Lily died in my arms. It was the night she turned to me in her hospital bed. After hours of chemo, her tiny body bruised and shaking, and asked me with her cracked voice, "Mom, did I do something bad? Is that why Grandma won't come?" That moment, it broke something permanent inside me, not just as a mother, but as a human being. And if you've ever had to make peace with the fact that someone you trusted would let your child suffer alone, then you already understand why I cut my in-laws off completely. If you haven't, let me take you there. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. If you've ever been the one carrying the emotional weight that others should have helped with, hit that like button. If you've ever held back your own grief to protect your child, to stay strong when your soul was crumbling, subscribe. Because this story, it's a long one, and every moment matters. Lily was always lively, loved bugs, coloring, and singing loudly, especially in public. So when she started limping a bit at 4.5, I noticed. Doctors chalked it up to growing pains. Then came leg cramps. More limping, still. They told us it was nothing. For 14 months, I fought this gnawing feeling in my gut. Until finally, we got a scan. A tumor, massive, pressing against her organs. The doctor said it looked benign, and booked her surgery for 8 weeks later. 8 weeks of pretending nothing was wrong while that thing grew inside her. I called my mom in Illinois. She drove 8 hours and was at our door the next morning. Matt called his parents, Evelyn and Charles, in Omaha. They said, "We'd love to come, but Erica's overwhelmed with the kids right now." Erica, Matt's sister, divorced, with 3 kids, yes. But she lived just 25 minutes away from us, and our daughter was facing major surgery. I swallowed it, justified it, told myself they must not understand how serious it was yet. The day of the surgery was brutal. The sterile hospital lights, the waiting room with its fake plants and vending machine coffee. My mom never let go of my hand. Matt's parents, no call, no message, just nothing. The surgeon finally came out. He looked tired, concerned. We removed what we could, about 60% of it. It's likely not benign. 3 days later, stage 4 neuroblastoma. I couldn't breathe. And then came the treatments. 5 rounds of chemo. 2 stem cell rescues. 6 sessions of immunotherapy. Through it all, Evelyn and Charles stayed away. They offered once to come help, then canceled the night before. "I can't wear a mask all day," Evelyn said. "It gives me migraines." We begged them, "If you do come, please don't visit Erica's kids first. Lily has no immune system. A cold could hospitalize her." Their response: "We're not choosing between our grandkids. If we can't see everyone, we'd rather stay home." I tried to compromise, split the trip. 2 days with us, 2 with Erica. They declined again. Meanwhile, Lily kept asking why she hadn't seen Grandma. I kept lying. "She's busy. Sweetheart, she loves you." Then I cried alone in the hallway outside the PICU. More than once. The stem cell rescues were the worst. Her immune system was chemically burned away and rebuilt. She lived inside a sanitized bubble for weeks. It was just me, my mom, and Matt. And even then, Evelyn and Charles didn't visit. One night, while I was gently cleaning Lily's feeding tube, she said it again. Did I make Grandma mad? I turned my face so she couldn't see me cry. That question sat inside my chest like a stone. When Lily finally went into remission, we had 3 beautiful months. She sang again. She ran, laughed, tried to color every inch of the walls. She made a new friend on the ward who loved unicorns. Still, Evelyn and Charles never came. Then came the pain again, same leg. This time it was worse. Scans confirmed what I already knew in my gut: the cancer was back. Aggressive. In her spine, lungs, bone marrow. I made the hardest call of my life. I dialed Evelyn and left a voicemail. "It's back. She's dying. She wants to see you." They didn't come. Lily passed away just after dawn on a Wednesday in January. The room was quiet except for the beeping machines slowing down, as if even they were grieving. Her fingers wrapped weakly around my hand. Her little stuffed otter tucked beside her. She tried to hum a tune, her favorite lullaby, but halfway through the melody, her voice faded. I finished it for her. And then she was gone. Just like that. The air felt thinner. The light outside the window looked different. And inside me, something collapsed forever. I called Evelyn again. One last time. This time I didn't leave a voicemail. I just stared at the phone screen until it dimmed, and set it face down on the tray table beside Lily's bed. They didn't answer. They never called back. But 3 days later, they showed up. Not because I told them, but because Erica had apparently called them after seeing a vague post on social media. They arrived after the funeral was already planned, already decided. They walked in like mourners who had been wronged for not being included. Evelyn clutched a bouquet of carnations and asked, too casually, "Did the obituary go out yet?" At the service. She sat quietly in the corner, chatting with someone from Matt's side of the family about how kids are so strong nowadays, and at least it was quick, I overheard her say. I guess God needed another angel. I wanted to scream. But instead, I stood by the photo collage of Lily's short life, her first steps, her crooked pigtails. The moment she fed a duck for the first time, and I swore silently this woman would never again occupy space in my life, in my home, or in the lives of my children, living or gone. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried until I choked. I looked into the mirror and said the words out loud. Like an oath, I forgive you for your absence, but I will never forget it. You will never again be near my son. Not because I want revenge, but because Noah deserves a version of family that doesn't come with conditions. Matt didn't react well when I told him. He stared at me like I had just cut off a limb. "You're going to punish them forever?" he asked. I said nothing at first. Then I said, very calmly, "No, I'm protecting myself and our son from people who show up only when it's convenient, not when it matters." He didn't respond, just stood there, blinking like he didn't know who I was anymore. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I didn't either. Grief changes you. You either break apart or you sharpen. I was sharpening. Over the next few weeks, the grief grew claws. Everyone around us wanted to move forward. The casseroles stopped. The texts stopped. But the memories didn't. Her room was still painted lilac. Her toys still smelled like her. And every time I walked by the hallway, I waited for her laugh, knowing it wouldn't come. Matt tried to bridge the distance. He asked if we could host his parents just once for Noah's sake. I said they had a chance. Multiple chances. Lily asked for them. They didn't come. He said I was being vindictive. I said I was drawing boundaries. There's a difference. And that's when I started to plan not revenge in the traditional sense, but something deeper. A reckoning. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to burn bridges. I was going to freeze them out with silence so sharp it cut. I created a system. Every interaction with his parents would go through Matt. Every visit would be Matt's responsibility. I would not remind Noah to call them. I would not answer their texts. I would not mention their birthdays. If they wanted access, They would have to earn it through effort, through accountability. They never tried. I started therapy around that time. I told my therapist everything from the surgeries to the voicemail. Evelyn never returned. She looked at me and said, "You're not angry because they didn't show up. You're angry because they made your daughter feel unloved in her final days." And she was right. This wasn't just abandonment. It was emotional cruelty by omission. It was a passive kind of abuse that no child should ever experience. That's when I knew I couldn't just move on. I had to transform the grief into something useful, something that protected Noah. And here's the thing about boundaries when you build them. People either respect them or expose themselves trying to breach them. 1 month after Lily's death, Evelyn sent a group text. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just, "We're thinking of coming up in March. Maybe we can take Noah to the zoo. No, I'm sorry we missed everything. No, we should have been there." Just a vague offer to play grandparents like nothing happened. I didn't reply. Matt did. He told them we weren't ready, that Noah was grieving too. They were disappointed, but unsurprised. Then came the twist. I discovered an old email thread between Evelyn and Erica that Matt had accidentally left open on our shared laptop. It was from 3 months before Lily died. Evelyn had written Rachel's "always so dramatic." I honestly think she exaggerates the situation with Lily for attention. She doesn't want help, she wants pity. I stared at those words for 5 full minutes before the nausea hit. They didn't just abandon Lily. They chose to minimize her suffering. They told themselves a lie that made their absence feel justified. That's when my silence calcified into something permanent. I never confronted them. I didn't scream. I didn't reply. I just stopped. I erased their presence. I unfriended them. I deleted every picture that included them. I told Matt, this is not a grudge. This is a consequence. He still tried, for a while. Still hoped for reconciliation. But I watched it happen week by week, month by month, as even he stopped defending them. He started seeing the gaps, not just in their support, but in their empathy. That's the thing about people like Evelyn, they demand grace they would never give. The story could have ended there. With silence. With distance. But grief isn't that simple. And neither is family. Because just when I thought the storm had passed, a letter arrived in the mail, handwritten, unmarked, clearly old. And what was inside changed everything. The letter was thin, yellowed slightly at the edges, like it had been tucked away for years. No return address, just my name and our home written in slanted cursive, elegant, almost tentative. For a second, I thought it might be from one of Lily's old nurses, or maybe even a relative sending their condolences late. But when I opened it, I saw something I wasn't expecting, a note from Evelyn. Only, it wasn't recent. It was dated 5 years ago. I read it once, then twice. My hands were trembling. "Rachel, I'm sorry if I come off cold. I don't know how to be a mother to Matt without making everything worse. I've always felt like you don't trust me, and maybe I deserve that, but I don't know how to step in without stepping on toes. I want to help. I really do. But sometimes I freeze because I'm scared you'll tell me I'm doing it wrong." Evelyn. 5 years ago. Long before Lily got sick. Long before things collapsed. I sat on the edge of the couch, trying to remember if I'd ever seen this before. I hadn't. Matt must have found it somewhere and kept it, maybe hoping I'd see it later. Or maybe he didn't know what to do with it either. But now, reading it through the lens of everything that had happened, it hit different. This wasn't an apology. It was a justification, a quiet one, a preemptive excuse. And yet, it made me wonder, was there ever a version of this family where we could have understood each other better? I brought it to therapy that week. My therapist looked at me for a long moment, then asked, "Does this letter change how you feel about her absence?" I thought about it, really thought. Maybe it explained the distance, but it didn't excuse it. Not when Lily was begging for her grandma. Not when I left voicemails that were never returned. At some point, fear becomes choice. And Evelyn had chosen silence. Matt saw me reading the letter. He asked where I found it. I asked why he kept it. He shrugged and said, "I thought you might read it one day and see that she's not as heartless as you think." I looked at him for a long time. Then finally said, "She's not heartless. She's just absent. And sometimes, that's worse." He didn't argue, just sat beside me, quiet. The way people do when the truth is too heavy to move. 2 weeks later, Noah came home from school with a drawing of our family. It had me, him, Matt, and Lily, floating above us like a little stick angel with pink wings. I smiled, my heart breaking all over again. Then I noticed something. In the corner, he had drawn Evelyn and Charles, but instead of standing with the rest of us, they were behind a tall wall, just watching. I asked him about it. He said, "They're far away, like always." That was the moment I knew that even without me saying anything, Noah felt the distance too. Children always do. They're emotional barometers. They pick up what we try to hide. I realized then that my silence wasn't protecting him anymore. It was confusing him. And if I didn't start speaking truth even in a way appropriate for a child, I might end up creating the very cycle I was trying to break. So, I sat Noah down that evening. We made cocoa. I kept it simple. I told him that sometimes. Grown-ups make mistakes. That sometimes. Even people who love us don't show up the way we hope. I told him it wasn't his fault, or Lily's. That Grandma and Grandpa had their own reasons, but that didn't make it right. And I told him it was okay to feel hurt. He nodded, quietly. Then he asked, "Do we still have to see them?" I said, "That's up to Daddy. But you never have to go if you don't feel safe." He looked relieved, then hugged me for a long time. But even after that conversation, the tension between Matt and me grew like a slow leak. Not dramatic, not explosive, just present. In how we avoided eye contact when his phone lit up with a message from Evelyn. In how I no longer asked about their visits. In how he stopped defending them as fiercely as he used to. I think he started to see it too. That sometimes. Family isn't about DNA. It's about who shows up in your fire. That's when the real twist came. Not with words, but with action. Evelyn sent a package. A small one. No card. Just a USB drive and a note. "Maybe you'll understand." I plugged it into my laptop. Reluctantly, it was a video. Old. From when Lily was about 2, a birthday party. She was wearing a ladybug costume. Matt was holding the cake. Evelyn was filming. Her voice, off camera, was saying, "Lily, blow out the candles. Make a wish." Baby and Lily giggled, then screamed, "I wish Grandma always comes." I paused it. My chest felt tight. I let it play again. I watched it 3 times. Then I shut the laptop. It was supposed to prove love, I think. Supposed to remind me that Evelyn had been there once, that maybe she hadn't always been absent. But instead, it reminded me of how far we had fallen, of how much Lily lost not just her health, but the sense of being wanted. That video felt like a museum piece, a relic from a time that didn't exist anymore. Nostalgia isn't enough. Memory isn't presence. And love without effort dies quietly. That night, I wrote back for the first time. Not to accuse, not to forgive, but to tell the truth. "Evelyn, I saw the video. I remember that day. Lily loved you. She believed in you. And when she needed you most, you vanished. I don't know if you realize how much that hurt her, or me. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. I hope one day you understand the weight of silence. Rachel. I didn't expect a reply. I didn't want one. What I wanted, what I still want, is peace. Not forgiveness, not revenge, just peace. The kind that comes from drawing a clear line in the sand and never looking back. And yet, even with all that, something still lingered. An ache. Not for Evelyn, but for Matt. For the version of us that existed before our child got sick. Before we saw each other through the lens of survival, I started to wonder if our marriage could survive the grief we couldn't name. If love could survive when justice felt unfinished. Because the one person I hadn't fully confronted in all of this was him. There's a kind of silence that settles in a marriage after loss. Not the quiet of comfort, but the kind that creeps in between dinner plates and goodnight kisses. It wraps itself around simple things: who empties the dishwasher, who picks up Noah from school and turns them into battlegrounds where nothing is really about dishes or school. That's where Matt and I were. Functioning. Existing. But never truly talking. We didn't fight. Not really. Not anymore. The big conversations had already been screamed out in hospital parking lots and hallway corners. Now, it was just this low-grade ache, like a bruise that wouldn't fade. Every time Evelyn's name came up, we took opposite sides of the room, physically or emotionally. And even when we agreed not to speak of her, the silence said everything we weren't brave enough to say. It was a Wednesday night, cold and windless. When the dam finally broke, Noah had gone to bed early after his first soccer practice. I was folding laundry. Matt walked in holding his phone, his face pale. "She had a fall," he said. "My mom broke her hip." I didn't react. They want to put her in short-term rehab. Erica's already overwhelmed. They asked if maybe we could help coordinate. I placed the folded towel down carefully, then looked at him. "Are you asking me to take care of the woman who abandoned our daughter while she was dying?" He exhaled. "I'm asking if you could consider letting go." There it was. Letting go. I sat down on the edge of the couch, my hands resting in my lap. The weight of the words between us heavier than I expected. "Let me ask you something," I said. "If Lily were here right now, really here, and you had to explain to her why Grandma didn't come when she was crying for her, what would you say?" He didn't answer. "I'm not being cruel, Matt. I'm just done pretending that the people who hurt us get to rewrite history because they're old or fragile or sorry too late." He looked tired, older, not because of age, but because of grief unspoken. "I'm not defending her anymore," he said quietly. "I'm just scared that if we don't find a way back from this, we're next." That hit me, because he wasn't just talking about Evelyn. He was talking about us. I'd been so wrapped in the righteousness of my pain. I hadn't realized how far apart we drifted, not just over Evelyn and Charles, but over everything. The way we processed grief differently. The way I hardened and he went numb. The way I needed action while he needed space. But the truth still stood. I had protected our daughter when no one else would. I had watched her beg for love and get silence. I would not let that repeat itself with Noah. And if Matt couldn't see that, then maybe we weren't the same team anymore. So I made a choice. "I will not speak to your parents." I said, "I won't take care of them. I won't engage. But I also won't stop you from doing what you feel is right. If you want to visit her, if you want Noah to see her, fine. That's your relationship to carry. But mine is done. Finished." He nodded slowly. There was no fight in him this time, just acceptance, maybe even a little relief. Because the war between us had needed terms, and I had finally drawn them. The next morning, I watched him pack an overnight bag. Noah asked where he was going, and Matt said, "To help Grandma." Noah looked confused but didn't ask further. I could see the thoughts spinning in his little head. So later, I sat him down again and reminded him gently, "You don't have to go if you don't want to. Your feelings matter too." He didn't go. Matt came back the following evening, quieter, not angry, just subdued. "She asked about you." He said, wanted to know if you'd ever be willing to talk. I just shook my head. I told her no. He added after a pause. I told her she should have shown up when it counted. That surprised me. And yet it didn't. Because sometimes, love doesn't scream or slam doors. Sometimes it's a quiet choosing. A decision made in small, steady steps. After that, something shifted between us. Not completely healed, but realigned. We started having dinner together again, without needing to fill the silence with anything. He stopped checking his phone during meals. I started asking him how he was doing, really doing. And we talked about Lily. For the first time in months. We cried, together, not separately in our own corners, but in the same room, sharing it. We told stories, funny ones. About the time she painted the dog's tail pink. About how she insisted every Band-Aid be sparkly. About how she made everyone clap before taking a bite of birthday cake. We remembered her, fully. And in doing so, we found a piece of each other again. But even with this fragile truce, I knew one thing was still unresolved. I hadn't yet told Evelyn the full truth. I hadn't said the thing that haunted me the most. That Lily died believing her grandmother didn't love her. And no matter what videos Evelyn sent, or packages, or letters, it was too late to rewrite that story. But still, a part of me wondered if I owed her that truth. Not for her sake, but for mine. Because some truths, if not spoken, curdle into bitterness. And I had made a promise to protect Noah, yes, but also to never let silence become my legacy. So I sat down, wrote one final letter. I didn't rush the letter. I sat with it for days. Let the words roll around in my mind like marbles in a glass bowl, delicate, hard, loud in their own way. I wasn't writing to forgive. I wasn't writing for closure. I was writing because some truths demand air. Not for justice. Not even for impact, but because staying silent would have turned that truth into a toxin inside me. I needed to say it so it wouldn't rot in my chest. The final version was short. I didn't edit it for kindness. But I didn't lace it with venom either. I wrote it like a eulogy for a relationship that never fully existed. Evelyn, I'm not angry anymore, but that doesn't mean I'm healed. Lily died still wondering why you never came. That's something I will carry with me forever. Not because I needed your help, but because she needed your presence. I hope one day you understand what your absence cost. I won't be reaching out again. Rachel. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't even expect one. I left the envelope unsealed on the kitchen counter for a few hours. Matt saw it. He didn't say a word. But later that night, he slid it into the mailbox on his way out to walk the dog. No permission asked. No apology offered. Just a quiet act of support. That meant more than any long conversation ever could. The letter marked something. A soft ending. Not the kind that feels triumphant, but the kind that makes space for breathing again. For something else to grow. Weeks passed, then months. The air turned warmer. Noah's drawings started showing only 3 people again, me, him, and Matt. He smiled more, slept better, asked fewer questions about heaven and more about soccer cleats and dinosaurs. He even said he wanted to visit the beach Lily used to talk about. So we went. Just the 3 of us. It rained the whole weekend. And we didn't care. We laughed anyway. That felt like the closest thing to healing I'd known in over a year. One night, back home, Noah asked, "Do you think Lily is mad that we're happy again?" I knelt down, looked him in the eye, and said, "No, baby. I think she's proud. I think she's the reason we can be happy again. Because that's what no one tells you about grief. It doesn't end. It softens. And sometimes, joy grows in the cracks where pain used to live, if you let it." Evelyn never replied to my letter. I don't know if she read it, or burned it, or folded it and tucked it away like some sad artifact. And strangely, I don't need to know. The silence no longer feels like an accusation. It feels like an answer. Matt and I still carry different versions of Lily's story. His is quieter. Mine is sharper. But both are true. And both are rooted in love. That's the thing, we didn't grieve the same way. We didn't protect the same way. But in the end, we both fought for her in the ways we knew how. Maybe that's enough. Looking back, I realized this story was never about punishment. It wasn't about revenge or holding a grudge. It was about protection, about boundaries, about refusing to let guilt be mistaken for love, or avoidance be rebranded as grief. It was about honoring the child who deserved more than excuses. And for those of you watching who've ever felt abandoned during your hardest moments by family, by friends, by people who swore they'd be there, I want to say this. Their absence is not a reflection of your worth. Your pain is not an exaggeration. And you are allowed to draw the line. We live in a culture that romanticizes forgiveness, especially for family. But sometimes, the most radical act of healing is to say, I love myself too much to let you hurt me again. And that doesn't make you cruel. It makes you whole. I don't miss Evelyn. But I do sometimes wonder who Lily might have become if she had more time, more love, more consistency. I wonder what kind of teenager she'd be, what college hoodie she'd steal from Matt's closet, what books she'd beg me to read with her. But I don't let those thoughts haunt me. I let them anchor me to the version of motherhood I still believe in. One rooted in presence, not performance. In showing up, not just saying the right words, because in the end, Lily taught me something Evelyn never could, that love is not a feeling. It's an action, a choice, made over and over, especially when it's hard. And that's what I'll keep doing. For Lily, for Noah, and for myself. If this story resonated with you, I want you to share your own. Drop it in the comments. Tell me about the moment you realized a boundary had to be drawn. Tell me about the people you've lost, and the ones you found in their absence. Like this video if it gave you clarity. Subscribe if you want more stories that honor truth even when it hurts. And remember, you don't need permission to protect your peace. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to choose yourself.